Hello and welcome to That's Football. This is your League Cup roundup on this Tuesday night, and we'll start off with Liverpool because I think the penny is starting to drop now. The penny is starting to drop with Liverpool fans, and I just wonder how much longer, how much more will they put up with Klopp? Will a result against United in a couple of weeks, would that in Anfield sort of stem the flow of that's bubbling up with Liverpool fans? Because the writing's on the wall and we're all football fans and we all got opinions, and he's been there for 2 years now, and my experience of managers that are struggling after 2 years is they very rarely turn it round, and consistent things are happening with Liverpool under Klopp. You know, the jokes are there, they're out, you know, they've been knocked out of the cup so they can concentrate on the league and not winning a trophy for another season. You know, the perfect marriage, bottle of Klopp with a club that bottles it consistently over the last couple of decades. I don't even joke when I say that Liverpool are becoming like Arsenal. Now, take that as a good or a bad, but when I look at Arsenal for the last decade, put a Benzema up front, and I think they would be challenging for the title at various stages over the last 10 years. I think they're in decline at the moment. They're getting worse and worse, but they've had a good team around that number 9 that would have made them good. Looking at Liverpool under Klopp, he's got no plan. He's got no plan B. It's you know, the plan A is good. If teams sit back and play in a certain way, he doesn't know what to do. And defensively, they are terrible. Why has he not sorted that out in 2 years? I mean, some of his signings have been good. When you look at Salah, could be a good signing. Mane, even Oxlade-Chamberlain, for all the laughing and the banter since he's signed about the bad results, I don't think he's a bad signing. But why? Why have they not bothered to sort their defence out? And I think Liverpool fans today, I mean, obviously I do a little bit with the United stand. I do quite a lot with the United stand, and being a United fan, there is that banter element with Liverpool. But Liverpool fans aren't stupid. You might say they're stupid for supporting a club that's never going to win the league in their lifetime, but those are the cards you're given. And Liverpool do have a history, and they have passionate fans. And I think those fans are waking up to the fact now that Klopp is not the Messiah. He's not the thing that they've been sold. And in fairness to Klopp, I remember when he was at Dortmund thinking, you know, when Sir Alex Ferguson went, would he be a good manager for Manchester United? And a lot of United fans thought he was. I thought he was a good manager as well. But looking at what he's done in the last 2 years at Liverpool, I think he's a flop. I think he's a fraud. I don't think he has. He's not going to be one of the world's best managers. He doesn't have a plan B. And he can't see what's staring him in his face, which is defensively they're not good enough. And that inability to adapt to different situations. I mean, his last season at Dortmund was a bit of a car crash. So it is interesting, and it's more interesting the fact that now we're starting to see a little bit of Klopp out, and I think the writing's on the wall. I really do think the writing's on the wall for Klopp. 2-0 loss at Leicester today. Both teams putting their second teams out, but still, Liverpool had the likes of Henderson, Chamberlain, Wijnaldum. They had decent players that should be able to go and get a result. I mean, they play at Leicester at the weekend. Both teams will have their first teams out. Coutinho played for 45 minutes in the first half. If they don't get a result on Saturday, then I think he's going to start to feel under a lot of pressure. But Liverpool fans, I'd love to know what you think. I personally think it's the beginning of the end. And Gavin Bradley says Klopp's mask is finally slipping. Van Dijk wouldn't have solved this problem, says Safe1052. No, I agree with that. I think Van Dijk's a good centre-back, but it's more than one player. They are terrible at the back. Absolutely terrible at the back. Yash says Chamberlain is not class. He's a waste of money. Matthew Bell says sack Klopp, sign Wenger. And I want to see Angle tomorrow. Oh, he's talking about Manchester United. And Liverpool in attack are so dangerous, but their defence is a wet blanket, says Nicholas Myers. And I would add that further layer on, that they are dangerous, but if you know how to defend against them, he hasn't got a plan B. And that's shocking for a top-level manager. They haven't got a plan B. And these last 2 games for Liverpool have actually absolutely been perfectly representative of what Klopp's problems are. You know, they'll probably win a game in the next few games where they batter someone 4-0 and the press will be on it again saying Klopp's a genius. Well, we know what his genius is. We know what Liverpool on a good day are when everything runs their way. We saw what they did to Arsenal a few weeks ago. But what we saw at the weekend against Burnley is a team that sits back and they can't break them down. And what we saw tonight are defensive frailties, and again a team that doesn't really give them the space that they need to be good. If teams attacked Liverpool, they'd win the title because on their break, they're very good. But he has got issues. Liverpool scored only 2 goals versus Crystal Palace, Leicester and Burnley, says Tubes. Yeah, so that great attack is sort of out of the way. James Bowman's right. I did say that Klopp would be found out this year. I also think Pep will be as well, but we might have to wait a little bit longer for that. But these aren't me hating on Liverpool and City. They should be doing far better than they are. I don't support those clubs, but you know, those fans of the clubs, I'd be surprised if they're not saying the same as me. You know, Klopp is just not good enough. He's been there for 2 years now. Worse win record than David Moyes. That's a big concern. Big concern for them. Anyway, Spurs won 1-0 at Wembley under a massively low crowd. I think it was like 24,000 people in a I don't know how much Wembley holds, but it must be 4 times that. So they're not making their money tonight, but they did win at Wembley against Barnsley 1-0. Again, Spurs made a few changes, but Dele Alli got the winner in the 65th minute. And Spurs continue to struggle at Wembley. Again, something I predicted and a lot of you did as well, that Spurs are going to struggle this season because they cannot win at Wembley. They might figure it out, but I think by the time they do, the title will be gone. I suppose the advantage is if they hang around in the League Cup and the FA Cup, it'll be effectively a home game for them if they get to the final. But Pochettino, unlike Mourinho and I think Klopp and I think Wenger and I think maybe even Pep Guardiola tomorrow, Pochettino talked this trophy down. You know, said that the league and the Champions League are their priority. I feel sorry for Spurs fans a bit because winning a trophy is a nice thing to do. You don't remember finishing 2nd and 3rd in 20 years time, but winning a trophy is nice. But he did it last season. He didn't want to. He turned the Europa League down to focus on the top 4. I think trophies are more important. I don't know what Spurs fans think, but you won tonight. You're still in the draw, and I just think teams like Spurs and Liverpool, if they could, and Arsenal, like United did last year, winning a trophy is not a bad thing to do. It's you know, League Cup is obviously not the priority above the FA Cup and the Premier League and the Champions League, but it's still a trophy and it's still a mentality. You've still got to win a number of games that you know, embeds a winning mentality. You can't pick and choose when you're not winning trophies, is what I'm trying to say in a very long-winded way. So if you're a Liverpool fan or you're a Spurs fan, it's all right saying, well, we're out the tournament now from a Liverpool point of view, or from Spurs, this isn't a priority. It's all right saying that, but I don't recall in your recent history you winning that many trophies. And sometimes small steps lead to big steps. And you look again, look what United did last year. Mourinho won the League Cup and the Europa League. Both Liverpool and Spurs turns that down to focus on the league. And yeah, you've got top 4 and you're in the Champions League. Are you going to win the Champions League? No. A League Cup, a Europa League, an FA Cup. I think the fans would prefer that than 2nd or 3rd, but maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. In relation to the other results, Villa beaten by Middlesbrough, doing very well, Middlesbrough at the moment, in that all-championship clash. Crystal Palace 1-0 over Huddersfield, Premier League clash. Sacco scoring for Crystal Palace, and for those who will ask, because I know some will, no Fosu Mensah, but not even on the bench, so maybe he's rested for the weekend for Crystal Palace, which is good from a United point of view. Norwich City beating Brentford in the Cup 3-1 away from home. Norwich, Brentford struggling a bit at the moment. Bristol City 2, Stoke City 0. Stoke have shot their load. They played their annual cup final against United a week and a half ago, and they're now losing games like typically they do. Bristol City, well done. Burnley 2, Leeds 2, extra time. Leeds win on penalties 5-3. Lots of goals in that game. Leeds doing very well at the moment. Burnley, obviously a Premier League club, so that was a good game. Bournemouth beating Brighton 1-0. Local derby. Is it sort of local? The seaside clubs. They're not far apart. And Premier League tie again. Leicester 2, Liverpool 0. We've discussed that. West Ham 3, Bolton Wanderers 0. I'm just going to have a quick look at that to see if Hernandez played, because I'm thinking of dropping him out of my fantasy Premier League team. He was on the bench, unused, so not needing to worry about that. Wolves, very in form at the moment. Wolves, they beat the other Bristol club, Bristol Rovers 1-0 after extra time. Reading versus Swansea. Swansea winning 2-0 away from home. And obviously we spoke about Spurs versus Barnsley. Most of the big clubs playing tomorrow. Chelsea, United. City and Arsenal. But worrying times, I think, for Liverpool fans, and I don't think it's going to get any. I don't think it's going to get any better. I don't. I think the writing's on the wall. I've said this so many times. Whether it's, you know, I remember Lambert at Villa and Rodgers at Liverpool, funnily enough, again, and a few other managers, that there's this hope that they'll turn it around. But I think there's very few managers in history that when they've been at a club for 2 years and they've not really achieved anything, that they suddenly start to achieve it. You know, by now there should be some progress at Liverpool Football Club, and there isn't. They're still pretty much like they were under Brendan Rodgers. Terribly defensive, terrible on the defensive side of things. Quite entertaining when the opposition let them play, but I don't see any progress at Liverpool. And personally, you know what? I'm not a Liverpool fan, so I don't lose any sleep over it. But if you are a Liverpool fan, where is the progress? Can they afford to get rid of Klopp? I don't know what his contract is. I think Klopp will probably be there all season, but it's just how bad it has to get for them to see the writing on the wall, the owners. Do I think Klopp will go before Christmas, says Richard Smith? I think it'd have to get quite bad. I think they'll persist with him, and I think, you know, top four is not going to be easy this season. Mark, you should add a new person to the That's Football team, says Matthew05. Well, we are looking, and we will be doing the Skype shows in the next few weeks, so people can phone in. And West Ham got a good win at last, says Richard Smith. Yes, they did. Spurs are getting tired of running on a big Wembley pitch. Well, they should shorten it. And Liverpool are useless with their defence. I'd agree. And Sive says the top four will be City, United, Chelsea, and one other. It's from Spurs, Liverpool, or Arsenal. I'd agree with that. I think City, United, and Chelsea will comfortably be top four this year, which leaves one more space. I think Arsenal would be well advised just to go for the Europa League, because you can't do both. And Wenger loves fourth place, doesn't he? So he will try to do both, and that could backfire. Thanks everyone for watching. It was only going to be a quick show. We've covered the League Cup news. Give us your comments below. I'd love to get some comments from Liverpool and Spurs fans, because you've played tonight. But we all love football. Give us your comments on it. How long's Klopp going to last? How long do you think he's going to last? Do you think he can turn it around? And should Spurs be really putting more effort into this trophy? It's their home ground this season, Wembley. The League Cup, if you take it seriously, you can get quite, you know, semi-finals are quite easy as long as you get good draws. And then they're going to be playing at Wembley. Why is Pochettino not interested in winning a trophy? Why is second or third more important? Maybe he's right. Get comments below. Thanks everyone for watching. This is That's Football. Make sure you click and subscribe, bottom right hand corner. Watch along at the weekend is probably going to be Spurs West Ham, by the way, or Rangers versus Celtic. Not made a decision on that. And just something else to drop in your mind. FIFA 18 lands soon. We're going to do a career mode on here. I want to know what team you want us to do. I'm not doing Manchester United. I want to do a different team. Give us some thoughts. Thanks for watching. Speak to you soon.